What's going on, you guys? It's Calvin, the FPL Penguin, back again with another stream for you all. In today's stream, I'm going to be talking about Game Week 4, Game Week 3, and in today's stream, I've got two awesome, very special guests. One of them in particular making their debut. My guests today are from does two YouTube channels, Fantasy Football Weekly, and he's also called Rhys FPL as well. It's Rhys, and we've also got as well from, you may know, from Fantasy Football Scout, we've got Joe, who's making his debut on here. Chaps, how are we doing?
Fine, thanks. Good to be here.
Thank you. Great to have you both on. We're going to start off with a bit of an intro, get to know the guests, like I always do in my guest streams. Great to have Joe and Rhys on here. I'm looking forward to this stream as well, get the guys' thoughts going into Game Week 4. We're going to start off with Joe. We'll go in order. Joe, thank you for taking the time coming on. Looking forward to chatting to you in this 45-minute stream, along with Rhys. So tell us about yourself, Joe. How long have you been playing FPL, FFSCOUT, everything? Tell us about yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I started playing about 14 years ago. A friend of mine asked me to join a league, and so I did that and got really into it. I didn't know really what I was doing. Started captaining Jermaine Defoe. Then, luckily, it was when he was great, and I didn't really, I didn't know how to change captains for weeks. So he was my captain for ages. And then about towards the end of the season, I discovered Fantasy Football Scout. And back then there was like that. And I think that was it, really. There was no other advice anywhere. There was no FPL community on Twitter as such. And so I got involved with them and then answered a call to be because I'm a journalist by trade. So to do some articles for them. Sort of very small part-time, and so did that, got that job. And I think my first article was on Stefan Sessegnon for Sunderland and how amazing he is. And then so I did that, and then gradually, Mark, who was running it then, needed help running the community side of it, because you were getting tens of thousands of people commenting, and you needed a way of sort of getting that that community together. And and done various roles since, community manager, and still write for them a bit, and obviously do a lot of the videos and podcasts from like the captaincy and Scoutcast, and occasionally team news, that type of thing, and meet the manager as well. Can't forget that. But yeah, do all sorts of things. So been building up and up and up, and doing FPL obviously at the same, with varying degrees of success along the way. Few high finishes, few not so high, but I'm a top 101k manager. Never finished outside the top 101k.
Wow. Joe, thank you for that. We went to Rhys. Rhys, thank you so much. It's been a while since I've had you on my stream. I think it was October, November last year since I had you on. Great to have you back on, mate. Tell us about yourself, mate. How long you've been playing FPL? What made you want to make a YouTube channel, Twitter account? Well, tell us about yourself, mate.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be on. Nice to chat to you guys, firstly. I remember the last time I was on, actually, because we had a semi-unknown YouTuber on with us, didn't we? I don't know if you remember, called Oscar FPL Focal, right?
Oh, yeah.
He must have had something like, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers or something like that. And can you remember, he asked us, should I bench boost? It was a single game week, and he'd say, I'm thinking about bench boosting. I've got Ben Foster, because it came around to his turn to talk, right? And he was like, oh, guys, I'm like 20th in the world or something. And we were like, well, forget everything else. What are you doing with your team? So he's telling us about his team. And he said, should I bench boost? And we all told, well, I definitely told him, don't do it, right? Wait for the double game weeks, etc. But obviously he made his own decision, went for it. And then next thing you know, he's number one in the world, right? So I'll always remember that stream personally, because that was quite an occurrence. But yeah, about myself, my name's Rhys, obviously. I've got my own Fantasy Premier League YouTube channel, which I started probably about 2 years ago now, on the back of a really good Fantasy Premier League season. So I've been playing fantasy football for years and years and years, but never really took it seriously until probably the season before I had a really good season. And then I had a good season, and I already had a YouTube channel doing something else. So I thought, oh, why not do it about this? Because I really enjoy doing this, etc. So that's how that came about. It's called Fantasy Manager Weekly. Please go and subscribe. I'm sure Cal's put a link in the description.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got videos coming out like 3 times a week, etc. Really enjoying it. Nowhere near the level of success that Joe has. He's a very good manager who I respect quite a lot. I enjoy watching him. And I do respect his kind of, how would you describe, from what I can tell, very patient, boring, which is a compliment manager.
Yes.
And I'm trying to learn from people like that because, like I say, I haven't been taking the game seriously for as long as people like Joe have. So anything I can learn off these guys along the way, I'll take.
Awesome. No, lads, thank you for that. Great to know you guys a bit more better. Great to have you on. Let's get straight into this. Right. Joe, we're going to start off with how you gone on game week 3, and then we'll move on to how you set up in game week 4. How are you doing this so far this season as well?
Yeah, I'm 1.3 million in the world, which ordinarily I would think, oh, that's not so good. But we're only 3 weeks in, and there's, I think, on the Scoutcast, Seb is 120 or so. He's about 120,000, but there's only about 20 points separating us. And then in turn, there's another 10 or 20 points separating him from the top 10K. So that's how congested it is. A big week at this stage, and you fly up. And a bad week, you can fly down as well. So yeah, 51 points. Quite happy with that, actually. Sanchez in goal was the real star. People on the screen can see Captain Salah as well. So happy with his return. There, Haaland, Jesus, Gabriel, all returned for me, and even my bench did well. So people hate bench points, but I like them because it means you've got that player in that other people want, or it also means that you've got a 4.5 million player that you can ready to go, ready to use. So I've got Andreas Pereira and Bailey both returned there. Very happy with them, and lots of people used a precious transfer to move Bailey out to De Silva and then bench De Silva. I could not see the logic in that. Surely there must have been better moves to do. I personally got James in. He didn't help, and Cucurella. They both blanked against Leeds, surprisingly. But arguably, Robertson and Patterson, who made way for them, I think that was a worthwhile upgrade. And a worthwhile use of transfers, I think, it may not transpire, but logically over 4 or 5 weeks, which is when I'll probably wildcard, I think they'll return more than Patterson at Everton. I might eat my words. Patterson will get a huge haul this week, but I think so. Yeah, so pretty happy with that.
Pretty happy. Nice. We'll go straight onto your Game Week 4 team now. Just try and find it. It's like trying to find it on these messages here. Look at all this here. Right, here we go. Right, Joe, talk us through what's happening. Game week 4. What's your plans, mate?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we're moving swiftly on. This is great. You don't miss around, do you? Brilliant.
Reminds me of the 15-second question round from the Scoutcast.
You've got 15 seconds.
No. My
Take your time.
I've got 50. I think you'll find I've got 15 players, not 15 seconds. The team is exactly the same. So in true, as Rhys suggested, in true Dullard style, I'm probably going to do nothing. I've got Sanchez in goal, Cancelo, Gabriel, Alexander-Arnold, James and Cucurella, who all have great home fixtures. So I'm going to play them all. I've got Mason Mount. A lot of people getting rid of him, but he plays Leicester, who are the second, third worst defence in the league currently. And he could have scored. He hasn't been great, but he could have scored. And I think I'm going to give him one more week and go into next week with 2 free transfers. Salah captaincy against Bournemouth. I think he's going to bounce back. Martinelli, who should be in all teams, really, such a bargain. He's playing Fulham at home. Haaland, who was benched midweek for the charity match that Manchester City were involved in. And then Jesus. Guess what? Another home game against another on paper easy fixture for him. So all at home, all with great fixtures. Why would I change any of them? There we go.
No, it's a lovely team, and giving Mount another chance. I think shout out to Chris from Net That Hall. He's been doing some short YouTube videos, and people asking him, should we get rid of Mount? And he was saying, don't get rid of Mount. He's got Leicester, I think Leeds, not Leeds, Leicester, because they lost bloody Leeds, didn't they? But yeah, I think Mason Mount, he's a weird one at times. He can be one of them that can be a troll. I was considering him. You go for him and you think you're hoping he's going to get the points. Yeah, I don't know what Rhys's thoughts are on Mount. What's you want to jump in, Rhys? What your thoughts are on Mount?
Mount in particular, I think is fine. I don't think he's someone who I would bring in, but as well, I don't think he's someone who I would sell if I did have him at the moment, because like we were speaking about the fixtures, etc. What does jump out to me about Joe's team, which I'd like to ask him about, a couple of things really. Only 2 Liverpool and 2 Man City players. Is that something that comes into your thought process? Do you want a third of any of them?
No. Well, maybe. I did have 3. I had Robertson last week, so I had a triple up. So I've just come off the Liverpool triple up. And as we can see with Liverpool's defence, Manchester United are now higher than Liverpool in the league. Their defence is not worthy of a double investment. I'm not even sure Robertson's going to start. He's got Tsimikas can come in. So he just hasn't got the form. Who's the third one? Well, I don't know. And I think with Liverpool, while they've got injuries across the team, I think in attack, they're safe to play. But I just think the whole rhythm of the team has been disrupted. I don't think they're the place. So until the third option emerges, I'm not going to get them. And so I'm quite happy to go into next week. So I could get Mount to Diaz. I've got 0.5 in the bank. I could do Mount to Diaz, and I know many people will be doing that. But essentially, I'll be swapping one player who's not quite the best player of their team, who's got a good fixture, for another. And I don't see that as a useful way of using a transfer when this has got to last about 4 or 5 weeks, maybe. So yeah, there. And with Man City as well, which third option to get? I mean, answers on a postcard or within the chat. Those people are watching. Hi to Colm, by the way. I've just noticed he's in the chat. I think that Cancelo or another City defender and Haaland are the ones. And I think you can take your pick. Who's going to start? Who's going to score? Foden, Gundogan, Silva. Take your pick. If I was to pick one, if you were to hold a timer to my head and say you've got to pick another Manchester City player, I would pick Gundogan, because he too was benched midweek. And
you got 15 seconds.
No, that's it. I've given it to you. That's all you get on that one. But no, good. That was about half an hour the response. But yeah, I personally would go for Gundogan because I have Mason Mount, so that's an option, which I may or may not do. But I think I'm just going to leave this. This is what you see. This is what I'm probably going to go into Game Week 4 with.
Yeah, what you were saying, because me being a Liverpool fan, the whole thing about upsetting the rhythm now, Liverpool with their injuries in midfield. Me being a Liverpool fan, obviously, I'm like, Jesus, it's so hard to watch us play. We should be beating teams like Fulham, then Crystal Palace. We should be beating Manchester United. But with the amount of injuries with Thiago, Keita and all that, and we're starting a midfield of, no disrespect to Milner, he's been an absolute GOAT in his career in football. He's 36, 37. We've got Elliott, who's an up and rising young lads, who's not got that much experience, nowhere near much experience as Milner, obviously. And then we've got Henderson, who's 50-50 at times. It does remind me that not last season, I think it was season before, when we were playing the likes of Fabinho and Henderson in defence, because we had all those injuries.
It's worse than that. Someone posted up the team 4 years ago. 4 years ago, there's only 2 players different from that Liverpool team they put out against Manchester United.
Well, really?
I honestly think the rhythm of it, we need a midfielder. I'm not saying fork out going for Jude Bellingham, but we need somebody, because we're lacking creativity. I just think if we don't sign anybody in midfield, we're in for one hell of a roller coaster of a season. Honestly,
well, I heard someone mention, I can't remember where I've heard this, a podcast or a YouTube or something, that potentially they might not be getting a midfielder this year because they kind of know that they're getting Bellingham next year. Now, that's a rumor that I've heard somewhere, but I'm not sure how much truth is in that. But as a Liverpool fan, though, Carl, what do you think about Harvey Elliott? Is he good enough, do you think, yet to be in the team?
He's got a lot to learn. He's very young, still. We used to play like obviously right attacking right wing. Been on loan to like Blackburn and I think Fulham. He's got a lot to learn. He really has, and he's only young. And I just feel we need that extra experience. Those younger, fitter legs. No offense, Milner. I mean, Milner. I'm very surprised he stayed on. I was hoping for this season he was going to be a coach, like to coach the young ones in the background, behind the scenes. I just feel we're lacking so much. I'm hearing now Dortmund want to sign Keita in this window, which is well, if you give us Bellingham this season, that'd be great. I just feel like we're lacking something. And like I said about the whole like Hendo and Fabinho 2 seasons ago playing in defence, this kind of reminds me because it's upsetting the rhythm, like Joe was saying, the rhythm. And I just feel like, personally, spoiler alert, I'm keeping Trent, obviously, when we get to my team. I think he still offers those really good attack returns. He's dangerous. He is Trent. But we need to buckle down and get those clean sheets. Matip's out to the end of the month. Kanate probably out longer. I really want to see us sign a midfielder because Milner, with his legs, no offense, he's getting older. And then you've got like Elliott, who's up and rising, still very young and experienced. Henderson, I have my views about Henderson, what I think about him. I just feel, even if it's not Bellingham, we need somebody that is experienced, that has that experience and young and hungry. It's somebody that can just strengthen, because all the injuries got Ox, Keita, Thiago. Like I said, I don't mean to sound negative about my team, but I'm just being realistic. I just, after watching the whole games, Fulham, Palace and United, I'm not impressed. I just feel like Matt was saying to me just quickly, just FPL Obsessed on Twitter, it's a blip. He's a fellow Liverpool fan. Maybe it's a blip. We'll turn things around. Maybe. But I just feel, how long is it going to last for? Bournemouth, I'm not as that confident on it now. Defensive-wise, maybe in FPL we can just take a step back. Who's going to get the points? Obviously, Salah. He's always still dangerous. He's always very dangerous. But, please, Joe.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I mean, Bournemouth's fixtures, Bournemouth at home, followed by Newcastle at home. That's tricky. And we have to reassess what we think about Newcastle now. Everton away, that is potentially tricky. I know you as a Liverpool fan will know that Salah hasn't got the greatest of record against Everton, but I've often found that's because he doesn't actually play, because Klopp has done things like mix his team up against Everton. He wants to give as many players as possible, the experience of a Merseyside derby, because he's an old football romantic and all of that. So I don't think they're great fixtures there. And then they've got Wolves at home, which I think is marginally better. So the fixtures are okay. So there's options there. But I think if you're going into this fixture with Bournemouth, who have, if you look at the most attacking teams over the last, over the, the season so far, Bournemouth have got expected goals of 1 and they've scored 2. So they were overperforming with their 2 goals. That's pretty poor. Liverpool, in contrast, have got 4 goals and their expected goals is just under 5. So they're marginally underperforming, but nevertheless sort of doing as they expect. And I think in terms of defence as well, Bournemouth, are okay, but they're not great. So I'm looking at I can't even find them on. So in terms of clean sheets, they've got 1 clean sheet. They have conceded 7 goals, but they expected goals conceded is 3.7. So they're sort of doubly as bad as they should be at the moment. But it is Liverpool, who just lost to Manchester United. As a Liverpool fan, that's not something they're going to go, oh, that's fine, we'll just carry on. They're going to go absolutely nuts against Bournemouth. And Salah's got a great record, top captain for me. And if I had Robertson still, I'd keep him for this one.
Yeah. That's why I'm getting my team. I'm keeping Trent in my team. I've got Trent and Salah. And I know a lot of people, I think they're hitting that panic button and then getting rid of Trent, and just watch it now this week. He'll probably get a clean sheet bonus and probably an assist to Salah. And then it'd be like, oh, we'll get Trent back in again. But yeah, anything else you want to add, Joe, to your team?
What about team? Well, obviously Mason Mount is people will say that, but I've already spoken about him. I'm going to keep him for this one, but then he'll be the off. It's game week 5. Look at rotation. We've already Pep has already said about Haaland that he's not going to play every game when they've got every 3 a week or midweek one, and that's exactly what's going to be starting to happen. So you're going to see his minutes managed. So that sort of takes him out of the captaincy equation. So I've sort of penciled in a Haaland to Kane move. I want to keep that price point because I want to be able to, in one move, go back to Haaland. I don't want to. If I'm removing Haaland, I don't want to ever discount myself from getting him back again. So Kane's perfect for that. And so a move to Kane game week 5 is something I'm very tempted by. Playing West Ham, but you can still get returns there. And so that's why I'm quite keen to go into it with 2 transfers. That might be my only transfer, or I might remove Mount for someone, perhaps a cheaper midfielder, or maybe a Maddison or Diaz if I want. Gundogan. I don't know. I mean, I think the danger with my approach, and it's quite cautious and wanting to be flexible, is that you can be a bit too flexible. Oh, I want to do this. I want to wait a bit for that. And then by the time you waited, it's game week 38, season's over, everyone's having a party, and you're just sitting there with a terrible rank.
Yeah. Okay. Rhys, any more questions for Joe? Or
well, I was going to ask him about the Haaland thing because, but he's just answered it there. Really, I was going to ask what's his plans for Haaland going forward, because obviously we've heard this. Pep has come out and said it now. Do you know what I mean? We're not guessing anymore. So we know he's going to get minutes managed soon. Yeah.
So they're playing Crystal Palace, who are a bit of a bogey team for Manchester City, and Pep hasn't had a great record against them. So he's going to play that. He's going to be fired up. He's clearly loving playing with Manchester City. Do you see there was, I think it was last match, Kevin De Bruyne's pass to Silva or Gundogan, I want to say, I can't remember which one, but it was
right
amazing.
Through the middle.
Yeah, right through the middle.
Yeah.
And Haaland's reaction was just like, like a fan. He was just like, wow, that part. And he had he was close up of it, waiting for the pass. And then De Bruyne eases out the impossible pass through the whole defense.
Yeah, it was good.
And he's clearly really enjoying that. And that's what you want from a striker. You want them to be really happy and like, wow, this is brilliant. You want him to be like a little kid. And that's how I feel that he is. So, having said that, I'm probably going to get rid of him game week 5 because it's against Nottingham Forest. On paper, looks great captaincy. Will he play? Highly unlikely, I think, if he's going to start against Crystal Palace.
It's the gap, isn't it, between games, like.
Nah, he's got it's Manchester City. They've got players. They can rotate. That's why it's not. They don't actually rotate that much. Foden often plays. Kevin De Bruyne often play. They don't do that rotation. But when there's fixture congestion like this, they can do it, and that's what the fear comes by, because they can just their second string team is better than half, if not all, the other teams. Yeah.
I just want to get before we get to Rhys's team, you guys know Barcelona and Man City played last night. Did you hear about that? It was a friendly.
Yeah, had a little look at that. Yeah.
And I saw Haaland was benched, which was good, which is what I want to see. Cancelo benched, good. That's what I wanted to see. And Gundogan owners can feel happy as well. Yeah,
Walker started, and the goals from Alvarez, Cole Palmer, and Mahrez. Assist from Cancelo. Kyle Walker playing about 46 minutes. So I'm somebody who owns Walker, so I'm slightly worried myself, especially with game week 5 around the corner as well. So looking forward to that, Pep, his little rotation. I don't know why they played that. Does anyone know why they played?
It was a simple arranged charity match.
Oh, was it charity? Okay.
Yeah, it was a charity match. I can't remember. All the gate receipts went to a particular charity, and I think there was a certain every goal scored got a certain amount. But people watching might better correct me on that. But anyway, lots of money went to charity, so that's why they were doing it.
And I think it's the World Cup as well as pushed the season earlier than it normally is. So then it's pushed kind of pre-season friendlies almost into the season a little bit. Would you say that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that it could be. I mean, I don't know why it was arranged, to be honest. I mean, obviously for charity, but why it was arranged then and not beginning of August or something, as a pre-season friendly, that would have been more apt. But for some reason, they've done it in the middle of a congested top flight league. So I think they probably, I don't know. I'm not in charge of these clubs.
We're just giving us all a headache now of any Man City player owners like Walker, like myself. Right, we'll move on to Rhys. Thank you, Joe. And all the best for this week as well, mate. So we'll move on to Rhys now. This is how you got on last game week. How are you doing so far this season, Rhys?
Doing pretty well overall, yeah. 77k, so it's good. Had a really good first couple of weeks. This one, not so much. 50 points, but it looks like a kind of good week to have a bad week, right? Average is quite low. A lot of 50-ish points, right? Which isn't a terrible score, I would say, in isolation anyway. Made my first transfer of the season, Ward to Sanchez. So absolutely smashed that and played, not Ward, sorry, Iverson to Sanchez, and absolutely smashed it. Played Sanchez, got 8 points. So that was basically the story of my game week. I mean, Trent, nothing. Diaz, 1. Obviously, the team sheet comes out. Diaz isn't on it. And then he comes on because Zaka gets injured. And then they concede 3 goals. So it's like, what's the point in that? Cancelo, James, Zinchenko, obviously done well for me so far this season. Comes in with a 6-pointer. Salah captain, Martinelli still obviously doing well. Diaz, only with 2, but I'm a Manchester United supporter. So that game itself couldn't have gone much better for me as a Salah captainer and Manchester United fan, right? Haaland goal, Jesus with 4 points, so it's like a semi-return. And the bench, very similar, I think, to Joe's team. My bench is my bench. There's no real way that they're going to be starting anytime soon. And I'm really happy to have points off them, like De Silva's goal up first on the bench for the first 2 weeks. Great. Do you know what I mean? His price is going to be going up, etc. But, I mean, well, what do you think? So that's my points. 77k, so I'm doing well. But like Joe said, everyone's very tightly squeezed together. So it's only 4 games, right? 3 game weeks. So it doesn't really mean a lot.
So what's your plan then for this?
That's what I was leaving until the next screen because I don't bloody know.
There you go. Here he is.
Because I think my team's really good. I'm really happy with. I think it's really good. There isn't a single transfer I want to make, to put it bluntly. I'm not going to burn a transfer, and I don't really want to move around any of my 4.5s because it's just like really low impact, right? I don't want to do a low impact move. So any suggestions are welcome. I did a team selection video. I recorded it and uploaded it just before I came on air. So I won't go through like every single player because I literally did that on that video. If you're interested, not you two, obviously, but anyone who's watching. But yeah, give me your suggestions and I'll let you know because I probably thought about it already.
I don't see the problem with burning a transfer, to be honest, because sometimes you can make a transfer and it costs you points. And so, not just the next week, but weeks to come, you think, oh, why did I get rid of that player? I've just got to get them back in again. Oh, I'll spend -4. And before you know it, that transfer has cost you about 10 points in points you've missed and maybe doing a -4 to iron it out. So if the team's good, then keep it. I remember a lot of people doing quite well in so top 10 in the overall rankings. But if part of that is because their team's really good, so why remove a good player? I mean, I would be tempted to. I don't know. You can probably just try and shave some money. Who have you got? Greenwood as your attacker. Is there only 4.4 attackers?
Don't think so.
Just if there is, just get them in because Greenwood's hopeless. I mean, not as a player, but you know what I mean. He's hopeless in FPL terms. And maybe I don't know. De Silva, have you made any profit on him? 0.2.
No, he's still the sale price is still 4.5. Annoyingly,
okay. But there's lots of 4.4 equally as fabulous second on the bench players like De Silva. So you could get some money there. I would be tempted, if you wanted to be bold and brassy, to remove Diaz. You've got nothing. I don't know if you've got anything in the bank to move Diaz for Perisic.
0 in the bank, 2 free transfers.
I would be tempted to move Diaz to Perisic and cross your fingers because I think he's a good upside move. He might not play, but if he does, he could get you a 15-point haul. And he won't be that well owned. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, it's too early to say whether, getting Saliba in instead of Zinchenko to save a bit of money would be actually a good move, because Zinchenko this week could get an assist or a goal, and then you'd be cursing that decision. So that's what I would do. Just play it up a bit. But I think going to game week 5, you might want to perhaps look at Luis Diaz, even though on paper good fixtures. But so I don't think Newcastle is a good fixture, really. I think we have to reassess that. And so yeah, leave it or just get some money somewhere.
I've got 2 questions for Rhys. One in particular, the captaincy. Are you sure you don't want to captain somebody that's not Trent? I mean, somebody's not.
Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. Yeah.
No, I didn't even notice that. Sorry, I'll leave that.
I got Trent captain.
You're just staring at me.
That's probably the most exciting thing, because the team itself doesn't really need any surgery. It's like all the potential transfers are quite boring, apart from maybe, like Joe said, Diaz to Perisic, which is something I've thought about. But I kind of want to keep my double City defense, which I'm sure you can understand. But yeah, I got Trent captain. How big my balls are going to be closer to the deadline, I don't know. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And it's not like I'm not trying to be clever because people are selling Liverpool. I just think they've got a great chance of a clean sheet. And Trent gets bonus points. So if they get the clean sheet, he's probably going to get bonus points. He's likely to get an attacking return as well. It's just, will he outscore Salah? That's probably the big question of it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a risk. I don't know whether this early in the season it's worth that risk myself. I think simply owning him is good. You can celebrate his points. Mohamed Salah, you can't celebrate his points because he'll get over 100% effective ownership. So and you've already got a player. You've already got a spy in your midst in Jesus. As I found out this week, he was the biggest threat to my rank, and I'm blooming well own him. So with Salah as well, you're going to have a second one like that. So you've got 2 out of 9 players you hate and don't want to do anything.
That's a good point. So that's like an EO point, really, isn't it? That's a good point, which I didn't really consider, because I'll be watching the game and I won't be wanting Salah points, but I will be wanting Trent points. But if I do the obvious thing and captain Salah, then I'll be happy either way. Yeah.
But I see, and people will say, oh, you shouldn't let effective ownership, judge be the judge of your decisions. But you're betting against Mohamed Salah. I might need to repeat this. You're betting against Mohamed Salah getting a goal return against Bournemouth at home on the back of a defeat to Manchester United. Now I
don't think that's necessarily correct. I don't think that's necessarily correct. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm betting against Mohamed Salah outscoring Trent, right? Is that how it works, like mathematically? Or am I?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you get the one that scores more, it's a bet. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Joe hates it.
I personally wouldn't do that myself.
I know you wouldn't.
What do you think? But I do think Jesus instead is an option, and he's your vice captain. So he could be, if you want to be a little bit, see, it's weird, be a bit different by captaining the most owned player that there ever will be.
That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah. I can see what Rhys wants to do. He wants to be a bit bold. He wants to not be boring.
Well, it's not that, Carl.
Enjoy the game.
Actually, it's 100% not that, because that has been when I look back at last season in particular, and I think, right, what mistakes have I made and how can I correct that? How can I maybe change my play style? Trying to be different or clever or looking for differentials is probably one of the things which I think cost me a lot of like bad outcomes, etc. last year. So it's one thing I'm trying to change about my game this year is literally making 0 decisions based on ownership. So when I say that, I mean like looking for differentials, etc. Right? So the fact that I'm captaining Trent is consciously not because of that. Does that make sense? I'm not consciously trying to be different, because I'm actually consciously trying to not do that. This is quite hard to explain, but I just think he'll score the most points. Now, conversely, what I have said as well to myself this season is I'm going to try and, if I have a real 50-50, I'm going to try and flip that and be defensive in terms of ownership. So if I have any 50-50 decisions, like the captaincy, like a transfer, then I'll go, right, who's the most owned? Who's the most risk? Do you know what I mean? And then I'll flip the coin that way, if that makes sense. That's what I'm trying to bring into my game and remove from my game this year.
Well, I mean, that data I read out a bit earlier. The most attacking teams, Bournemouth are the least attacking team, overperforming with their 2 goals, and they should have scored 1 in the last 3 games.
Precisely.
However, Liverpool's defence is no great shakes, so there could be a goal there. So they've conceded 5 goals, and they've expected to conceded 4, and they're meant to be one of the best defences, and they're clearly not at the moment. No. So I just think it's become one of my colleagues at Fantasy Football Scout, Praz, who does Burning Questions, talks about sort of games playing the game, and he imagines, what would you do if this situation happens? How would you feel about the game that you're playing? And Solanke or whoever scores a goal, totally feasible.
That would be that would be sheet
Liverpool,
over the heads kind of.
Liverpool can win 3-1. Yeah, Liverpool could win 3-1. Alexander-Arnold might get an assist. Salah gets a brace. How are you going to feel after that day of fantasy football? You're going to feel awful.
Yeah.
That Kiev Moore will score or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised, being a Liverpool fan. The way we've been playing so far, it's tough one. Captain Mo. He's getting the goals. So
I just think sometimes there are certain weeks you can feel it as well in the FPL community. There's certain weeks when a different captain is the one. Oh yeah, this one here, this one here. This is a good, and this is just does not feel like that week.
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah, I do agree. I'm probably going to change it.
After what we said, we're just absolutely roasting.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to, but I'm a realist. I probably will.
This is a dullard takeover.
Yeah. Who knows? I might not, but I probably will.
Cool. Anything else you want to add, Rhys or Joe? Any questions for Rhys on his team? Anybody? Before we move on.
No, it's a great side, this.
What about you, Rhys? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, can I ask a question about my team?
Sure. Yeah.
So I want to get 2 free transfers. I'm probably going to have 2 free transfers next week, which is good because you got the game week 5 thing, which is like a midweek fixture. What's your thoughts on? I've asked you already actually about Haaland. What's your thoughts on Haaland, Cal, going into game week 5?
There is going to be a rotation. If he starts game week 4 against Palace, is it, and then Forest, and then he benched against Forest in game week 5. I personally, I'm probably going to talk about later, but I'm personally going to think about maybe keeping Haaland for game week 5. Only because I just don't see any point doing the whole moving Kane to Haaland to Kane, like whatever person was doing for game week 1 to game week 2. Now that panned out. But yeah, I think, with this 5 sub rule, he comes, if he's benched in game week 5, he comes on, say, the 60th minute or something, he could easily score maybe a goal, get an assist, something like that. So I feel like it's a waste of a transfer getting rid of him. If he's likely to be benched in game week 5 in that midweek fixture, I'm still going to roll with him and go with him. I'm not ditching him for Harry Kane, something like that. I just think it, in my opinion, would be a waste of a transfer moving him on just for 1 week or something.
Interesting.
Cool. But Joe, what was your thoughts about before? Do you want to just add what I've just?
Well, I mean, I think with just trying to think. I was about to have a sneaky look to see how many points Haaland and Kane have, because I hadn't actually done that research of how many points they've got. But
it's probably quite similar, isn't it?
But it's quite similar. I might have it here. Have I got it here? Oh, yes, I do. Right, Kane is on 16 points and Haaland is on 24 points. So you can see there is a slight gap there, quite a big gap after 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I do think that Kane is a great alternative to Haaland. So I do think that move, if you've got 2 free transfers, I think that's a fine move. And I think, we're all going to wildcard or have wildcarded at some point in the next few weeks. It's not the end of the world to get rid of Haaland and get Kane in, or get Kane or get Haaland instead of Kane, whichever way you want to do it, because you can just reverse that decision. And if they're the same, I mean, like with your team, it's like I'm saying burn a transfer. And probably lots of people will say that as well. And we have got transfers to use because the template is so strong. We looking at your team and my team, it's all those players. Why would you remove any of them if they're? I mean, maybe Mason Mount, but why would you remove them if they've got good fixtures? And and a lot of them are in form as well. So
it's almost a game forcing you to do something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think that's one of the tricks in FPL that I've learned is to filter out the noise. And that's the noise from the FPL community. That's all the content and all of that. And it's almost forcing you to make a move. And me saying, I'll just burn a transfer. I very, very rarely hear that. People say that. Don't make a transfer. Don't log in. Just leave it. Don't look at price rises. Don't log into live FPL. Don't look at your rank. I mean, there's such a move. Everyone wants to do something, be active in it. But you can only make moves once a week. I play the Sky game. I don't know if either of you play that as well. But you've got to make daily changes there. That you can change your captaincy. You've got to be much more engaged, and you can keep doing that. But with FPL, it's that one decision, one day, leave it. There's nothing else you can do. So, I sometimes doing nothing, is the best policy, which no one ever wants to hear. But sometimes it is good.
Yeah, just to add away quickly about the transfers in FPL. I play Sky Fantasy as well, and you can love the idea of changing your captains, and you can get your points doubled and stuff. It's fun. But yeah, with FPL, if I feel like I'm going into it, I think I'm gonna just roll that transfer, and then I always feel like I've got someone on my shoulder saying to me, like, "Go on, waste a transfer. Someone just do a random transfer."
There's a shiny new toy just in that team. That
so
striker who got 15 goals in the Belgium second division. Maybe you want him instead. It's that voice telling you these things.
Rhys, anything else you want to add? Was it about your transfers?
Yeah, probably just quickly. I'll probably come away from this having more likelihood to burn a transfer now from the conversation we've had, but I might do Greenwood to Stansfield. Have you heard of that guy? I mean, it's not going to get me any points ever, but I might do it.
Yeah, Stansfield. you can go all around the world for a player like that. He's fantastic.
I benched him last game week. He was third on my bench. I didn't know who he was. I just put him on bench in my wildcard. And I thought, who's this guy? Right.
No, well, they're all much of a muchness, aren't they?
Oh, God. Yeah. Right. We'll move on now to my team. Thank you, Rhys. Thank you, Joe, for your teams. All the best for this game week.
Thank you.
And the rest of the season. So this is how I got on. I wildcarded in the last game week, very early. Like we were talking about, somebody on his shoulder, go on, hit that wildcard button. And I did it. Talking with my last guests in game week 1 and 2, there's a lot of regrets I've made. Having the likes of Luca Digne instead of Trippier, and just making so many bad mistakes. Maybe I panicked by hitting the wild card, but I brought in players like Kevin De Bruyne. Who else I brought in? Saliba, I brought him a wild card. Some other players as well on a wild card too. But this is how I got on 50. I got a green arrow, 57 points. Saliba with that beautiful goal. It was either him or Zinchenko on a wild card. So I was happy that I brought this guy in. Hopefully, with that wonder goal, despite getting an own goal the week before, hopefully he's cementing his place. Hearing some good things from Arsenal fans. It looks like he's probably cementing his place in that centre-back position next to Gabriel. Rhys James only for that 1 pointer. Trent, 0 points. Walker, 1 point, unfortunately. Doing obviously nothing compared to what Saliba did. De Silva in there. I am thinking about getting rid of him very, very soon. But yeah, so Martial in there, not Martial, for God's sake, Martinelli in there with 6 points, absolute gem. He was one of them that I brought in too. I downgraded Saka to Martinelli, gave me that lovely less than 2 million to play around with. I brought Kevin De Bruyne, as I talked about. He's an explosive player. He's like one of the GOAT of the Premier League at the moment, along with Salah. He's just a fantastic player to watch, Kevin De Bruyne. Him and Haaland will link up well. He's probably the most nailed-on attacker at City out of all of them. He's probably one of Pep's golden boys. And I think, when he's on form, he takes set pieces. He's going to link up well. You watch him on heat maps. You watch him, his positioning, getting further up the field more than Haaland as well. I really like Kevin De Bruyne. So I've got him, explosive player. I've got Salah, who's an explosive player. Salah captained against Man United, thank God. If he'd blanked against Manchester United, maybe a Liverpool fan, I would have been absolutely even more pissed off. Basically, if he blanked, so I was happy with that little consolation goal that he got something in the end, and he got more points than Jesus and Haaland if I had captained them. So I was happy about that. Those two doing the work up front. I'm going to keep Haaland long term, like I said, for game week 5. I don't see, in my opinion, the point moving him on to Kane. I was considering it, but we'll get to my team in a minute. I personally want to keep Haaland. Like I said, if he's benched, 5 sub rule, he could easily come on. He could easily get something. At the moment, I don't trust Kane. I think his positioning on heat maps and stuff, he kind of just stays too far back. He doesn't get his forward as much. I'm not that convinced with Harry Kane at the minute. Bench-wise, you can see Ward. I would have been absolutely livid if Ward and Williams kept a clean sheet. I mean, if Andreas got 8 points, why? I don't know why I didn't start him. There were doubts with this injury. He had a yellow flag. Maybe I should have started him over De Silva, but hey-ho, you make mistakes, you learn from them. And then I got Stansfield. Don't even know who that guy is. He was part of my wild card. And then suddenly he's starting for Fulham, and I'm like, oh, please don't do anything. What's he do? Get an assist or something. So he was on my bench. So that's how I got on. Lads, you want to get your thoughts in? Anything to rip it apart? Or
do you want to go first, Joe, or me?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say about weak links. So I always think with a team, look at weak links, and that's your starting point to rectify them. So obviously it's freshly wildcarded. So I'm not going to say Kevin De Bruyne is a weak link or Jesus or Haaland or, but this team last week was propped up by Saliba. So if you'd have gone for Cucurella, you'd be looking at a big red arrow. If you've got another Arsenal defender in, it would have been just average. So this team is buoyed by that. So without that, so the weak links would be De Silva. So you've got to play one of Pereira or De Silva or Neco Williams every week. Now from game week 6, I think it is. That's not so bad with Nottingham Forest. So they were game week. Yeah. So Nottingham Forest, they got Tottenham and Manchester City next. So you're not going to, he's not going to be like coming into your team. But then they've got Bournemouth at home and then Leeds. So I think that Bournemouth fixture is good for Neco Williams, but that means that you've got to play one of De Silva or Pereira in the next 2. De Silva had a terrible expected goal involvement, yet he scored 2. I mean, you saw the goal against Manchester United he scored. Anyone could have scored that. You just sort of aimed vaguely at the goal there, but that was a Manchester United error there. So I don't think he's a player you can rely on. He's a weak link. So I would probably go for Pereira would be your option there. But then he's got Arsenal next, and then he's got Brighton next. And Brighton aren't conceded 2 of the best defences in the league. So weak link wise, you've got 3. I mean, let's include Stansfield. You've got 4 players who are all a weak link. So sometimes I would look at that in terms of you need to rectify that. You need to be able to play a player who isn't De Silva or Pereira or Neco Williams. You need a better player than those 3 to rely on each week, and you can't rely on those. And as I said, there's some fixtures you can play them, but so I would look to that. But structure wise, you've sort of snookered yourself because you've got De Bruyne, Salah, Jesus, Haaland, and that premium defense. So your flexibility is right down the pan on this one. So this is the kind of team. Now you're not going to like this. This is the kind of team.
I don't think he liked that, but I don't think he liked the bit just now, Joe.
See, I'm a veteran of putting wild cards on live streams.
Go on, hit me with it. Go on.
This is exactly the kind of team I would wildcard away from. And that sounds crazy because structure-wise, you have no flexibility to get emerging gems. So Perisic looks great. Who are you going to remove for Perisic? James? Alexander-Arnold?
But you're going to love my game week 4 team.
Well, I don't know what moves you're planning, but this says you're going to make some hits because I can't see you getting on any emerging players, and I can't see you going into a game week saying, I'm going to this is the week I'm going to remove Kevin De Bruyne. Once you've got him in, you can't in the gameplay of it, it's really difficult to remove him. But yeah, I would be interested to see what your moves are. Raya's good though. I think a 4.5 goalkeeper is really good.
Right, but we'll move straight on. We'll get Rhys' thoughts first on my team, because I think we're going near enough in time. But yeah, this is it. This is what I've gone for at the minute. The move, James, to Trips. Can I just before we start, why I did it? I did it on Sunday during the Newcastle City game, and I went to the pub. Right, don't drink an FPL. Right, I know the old excuse. You know what I'm saying. I basically went all like Jack Sparrow, and I had a few rum and Coke mixed together. Didn't get too drunk, and I just decided after my third glass at the pub during the game to do James to Trips, and I banked in 1.1 million. So that's my starting XI. That's my bench, and my captain's going to stay on Salah. We've talked about Salah, how good he is, and I'm backing my boy. We've got to win games. We've got to get the wins behind the belt now. We've got, there's so much pressure at the minute. The pressure's building up, and Salah's always nailed on. He plays like average a full game on minutes, So that's my team. Like I said, James Trips. We'll start off with Rhys. What you thinking, mate? What you think of my transfer, my team? Go for it.
Well, I'll take it slightly easier than Joe has.
Yeah, start with you first.
Obviously, what we've got here is a freemium team, right? So you've kind of made that decision to almost decide to play basically De Silva every week, right? Which I don't think is crazy. I think you're just kind of backing these De Bruyne, Salah, and Haalands to make up for it in a way. And De Silva doesn't have bad fixtures; they are good fixtures. So. In that sense, I'm going to go slightly different from Joe. Now, I wouldn't have wildcarded into this team, so don't take it the wrong way. Essentially, I'm just playing devil's advocate here more than anything else. And to be honest, I don't mind the Trippier transfer from Rhys James. Again, it's not something I would do, and it does look like he's got a tricky fixture coming up in Game Week 5 against Liverpool. But apart from that, he's a good asset, and we've seen what he can do going forward and his set pieces and stuff like that. And there are question marks about Chelsea now that those question marks might be squashed very quickly or whatever. But I don't mind it too much, right? But my question back to you then would be, with that money that you've banked from the James to Trippier move, are you then going to be upgrading one of your, like as Joe put it, your weak links? And what's the plan for one of the weak links then as well?
Bob, just say hello quickly to Oscar quickly. We were just talking about Oscar earlier. Hope you're doing well, mate. FPL Focal. Yeah, we were talking about you earlier, Oscar, about remember when you played your bench boost last season when you were last on the stream with Rhys, and it paid off for you, mate. Sorry, what was your question again, Rhys?
So you've banked, so your transfer James to Trippier has banked you a little bit of money, yeah? Yeah. What's your plans for the money?
Well, my plans for Game Week 5, I'm not going to do the Kane move. I'm going to keep Haaland. I'm thinking about just doing a 1-free transfer. A lot of people looking at Rodrigo. How long will that bandwagon keep on going, like the form-wise? I can't afford that. What I can do with that 1.1 million is move De Silva onto Aronson, his teammate. I like him. I think he looks very good. He might not be getting as much points as Rodrigo, but on the eye test, he looks exciting. He was unlucky not to get that winning goal against Wolves. It went down as an own goal. And I just think he looks exciting, and I kind of want to jump on, maybe take a punt on one of those elite attackers, either Rodrigo. But unfortunately, like I said, I can't do Rodrigo, so maybe take a punt on his teammate instead, the young American lad. I don't know what your thoughts are. We'll say with Joe.
Well,
Joe?
If you're mad on Leeds, you're wise to hold off this week because they're playing Brighton. They've got a terrible record scoring against
the mighty Brighton. The mighty Brighton.
They're very low scoring affairs. Nevertheless, it could do well. But it's Harrison, I think, is the one. He's the one who's also on a lot of those set pieces. He's the one who I think will have a place cemented. And we've got to remember with Rodrigo, he's playing there because Bamford is injured. So when Bamford comes back, which may be soon, maybe next week, I don't know, then Rodrigo's going to move perhaps into that number 10 role. So behind him. So where does Aronson go? You know, it's basically, I'm not quite sure what's going on. So when I'm not quite sure, I will look elsewhere. But you are right to consider upgrading De Silva. I hope I might be able to tempt you into a Brighton midfielder maybe in a sec. But there are other options there, and I think it's quite early to go for it. But the Trippier to James move, no, I definitely wouldn't have done that. But I'm not going to argue that Trippier is terrible or anything. He's really good. But you remove one of the most attacking defenders in the game with his peaches fixtures known to mankind. He's got Leicester next at home, then Southampton, West Ham, and Fulham. They're pretty good fixtures from an attacking point of view, and there's going to be a couple of clean sheets now, I would imagine as well. Rhys James is fairly cemented at somewhere on the right of a central midfield, central three. So I think. I mean, I got Rhys James in last week. I'm going to give him more than a week. I think I sense he's good. So, but yeah, I can't argue against Trippier. I mean, you have swapped a good player for a good player. Yeah.
I actually don't regret doing it. The reason for Rhys James is because we know Koulibaly got the red card. He's, even with Koulibaly starting, Tuchel's still starting him at bloody right centre back. Rhys James. I'm not impressed that Chelsea defense, even with I don't know. I predict in my predictions, believe it or not, at the start of the season, Chelsea to finish outside the top 4 this season. I honestly don't feel Chelsea are going to be that good, to be honest with you.
I mean, Newcastle have got Wolves next, so yeah, you should hopefully get a clean sheet there. And then you got Liverpool, and then they got Crystal Palace, aka Zaha Jamie 1 goal from 1 XG, and then you got West Ham. So Chelsea have West Ham as well. So I think in terms of defensive returns, clean sheets, Trippier's not the player I would go for. In terms of him getting a free kick and it unleashing a howitzer into the opposition and scoring from it, then yeah, he's your man. But how often is he going to get one of those nice free kicks? He might get one a match, and I don't know. It could do. But you are literally relying on goals, I think, with Trippier. Whereas with Rhys James, I think there is the chance of clean sheets. But yeah, he's at million, so I can see why you've freed up $1 million. I don't mean to be so down on your team. I've partly done it because it's a bit more entertaining as well to just like rubbish someone's wildcard team. But I do think that the flexibility is key, and it's good that you have done something about that in your drunken state down a pub, was it? And
the pub, Jack Sparrow.
So you had clarity through alcohol. You were thinking this, and this is exactly what you think. I mean, everyone thinks it when they're drunk. They think cast their mind to their FPL
I wasn't
team.
that drunk. I said I was tipsy.
And they think my team's not flexible enough. What can I do? And then suddenly you got $1 million in the bank, and you're walking home happy with a spring in your step.
Just to be fair, just to get on Trippier, he's only got 1 goal this season, but before that, no returns. He got 2 clean sheets. One of them in particular, it's Brighton. He got bonus points. So he's a bit of a bonus magnet. We got a bonus point in each, 1 bonus point in each of the first 2 games. So I still think, because Eddie Howe's building that Newcastle team, the link with an attacker now, Isaac, I think, Isaac from is that his name, from Real Sociedad. So they're going to get a few more signs in. Eddie Howe making some sensible signings. Pope's in there, Botman's in there. I'm expecting a really good season for Newcastle, top half finish for sure. But Rhys, before we move on to the last bit, and then we'll sign off. Anything else you want to? Any questions for my team or anything else?
I think I've asked everything. Yeah, because we spoke about the Haaland, we spoke about the money, etc. Yeah, so I'm happy to move on to Brighton. Because like you say, we
should move
quite
on.
Well. Yeah,
let's move on. We'll finish things off. Let's move on to here he is. He's got his scarf on. Here we go. Let's go.
Here we go.
Do you want me to bring up Joe as well? That little best Brighton players, like the little tally, like the table, team, cost, the expected goal.
Right. Is that what you which one? I mean, which would you like to bring up? There's I sent you a table. Most just best Brighton players, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah. That's this one here. This one, yeah. You want to
while you're bringing that up, Carl? Oh, go on. Sorry. Trying to be professional later.
Right, go on. What's up? Talk us through your beloved team with your beautiful scarf on.
Okay, rightio. So, I mean, I'm going to do this from an FPL point of view, really. Obviously, Brighton's a fantastic city, and the team is marvelous. But in terms of an FPL point of view, people want to know who to get in. So they're looking at best Brighton players. And what I've done here is this is from the Fantasy Football Scout members area, and I've sorted this by expected goal involvement. And we can see Gross there is in the lead there, expected goal involvement of just over 2. He's doing okay for a baseline bonus, and that's basically bonus points for just turning up, doing your stuff, being great, not scoring, not assisting, not getting bonus for those types of things, but just for things like tackling and all those kinds of passing. So he's doing well with that. He scored a couple of goals. He's 5.7. He's I would say cemented on the right side of a front 3-ish. And when I say front 3-ish, they have a weird formation. Although it's not, a fully structured formation that you would go, oh yeah, 3 up front. It can be 3 up front. It can be much more moving into midfield. It's got wing backs who can be 5 at the back, can be moving forwards much more. So, but Gross is nevertheless in an attacking role there on the right. So he's a great asset. 5.7. It's Trossard's the one I've got my eye on. He's going to be moving forwards much more. He has been playing sort of a left wing back role in the sort of back 5. So he's the one at 6.5. I think is worth the extra premium. His expected goal involvement is 1.25. His baseline bonus not as good as Gross, but nevertheless good. But he's got he's got shots in the box, shots on target, chances created. He's a bit of everything. He's a really great player. And he's the one I think you do have to pay a bit more for. McAllister is very good, I think, for his price because he's on penalties and he looks a bit like Messi and he's trying to get in the Argentina, a bit like Messi, Argentina national squad. He plays a much deeper role. So the goals you are relying on penalties, but he does have goal from open play in him and an assist. So I think if you're looking for a cheaper option, but I think if I was to compare him with say Harrison at Leeds, I'd probably go for him more. Danny Welbeck, if you're looking for a striker and you've only got 6.5, Brighton's fixtures are great. Now Danny Welbeck got 14 points so far, just expected goal involvement of 1, but he's looking really good. The thing with Danny Welbeck, while he's fit, get him in. Because he's really good. But the trouble is with Danny Welbeck is when he's fit. And so that's why he's not seen as a good FPL asset, because he's just not playing. And it's true. If you can't get on the pitch, you can't get anyone any points. I think he's a really good option there. And Solly March as well. He plays the right wing back role. So he's sharing that right side with Pascal Gross. He's been at Brighton. He's really young, but I feel like he's been at Brighton for forever, like as a 12-year-old or something. But he's always there. He's really versatile. He gets dropped. He gets plays. He's very, very, very popular with the fans. He was a former England under-21 player as well. I thought he was going to sort of march on, so to speak, but he is. I think he's a great asset. He's only 5 million, so he's definitely got a goal in him. He's definitely got an assist in him. If you were looking to sort of free up a bit of money there, I think he's a great option. I'm just looking at the fixtures, and Brighton's fixtures along with Brentford are really good at the moment if you're looking for sort of cheaper players, and Leeds as well. So Brighton have Leeds, then Fulham, then Leicester at home, and then Bournemouth away. And these are pretty good fixtures. Bearing in mind they've already beaten Manchester United already and West Ham. So away from home against a good, on paper, good side, I really wouldn't worry too much about Brighton. And I think there was another picture I sent over. I don't know if you want to put that up, or if you can't find it, I can just describe it if you want.
Which one? Let me just try and find it.
I think it was the only one, apart from any. I don't think I've seen any other pictures.
There we go.
Maybe
I found it.
Hopefully, I didn't.
Is it this one? Is it this one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So we have a new left back. Purvis Estupinan. People can pull me up on the pronunciation there. But we look
number
at his
30,
position.
Is it?
Sorry?
Number 30, sorry, Joe, is it?
Yeah, number 30. So he was subbed on. He's next to number 11. That's Trossard. So Trossard was where he is. So you can see how far up these left wing backs are. So if you see, they've got a new defender. No, they haven't. They've got a really attacking wide player. And Trossard is just a bit over. So you can see that this is an average position. So towards the end of the match, Trossard moved a bit further forward, a bit further, more to the centre. Number 18 there on that picture, there is Danny Welbeck. So yeah, he's right there in the centre. 7 and 13, from my memory, is Solly March and Pascal Gross. So you can see how high up Solly March is. 5 million. So when you're looking at that, 5 million for a Brighton defender, it's 5 million for a Brighton winger that you can get clean sheet points from. But Pascal Gross is there as well. He'll come in. And then a bit further back, you've got the likes of Caicedo, Lallana is playing sort of behind the striker. Lallana, Caicedo, and McAllister are nestled in there. And then right at the back, I think there's number 34 is quite interesting. He's Veltman. It was someone I wrongly said on the Scoutcast was only 4 million. I woefully underpriced him. He's of course 4.5, but he's the top scoring Brighton defender at the moment. So you've got the likes of Dunk and Webster and Veltman in this back three. And it's Veltman. I mean, you can see who's the one that's getting forward is Veltman. So if you want the off chance of an attacking return, this will be rare, but if you want the off chance of one for 4.5, and it's clearly because he's so high up as well, he's doing well in terms of getting up the pitch. So, could be chance of returns.
Yeah, I've got my eye on Solly March. I think somebody was asking about some like March on Twitter, and I think I saw you, Joe, commenting about March. He does look on the eye test looks very good. As you said, 5 million midfielder, and I don't mean to sound disrespectful to Brighton, your beloved club, but I've always said in past seasons that, in my opinion, Brighton attackers are so awkward to pick from in FPL. They're so awkward because it's like some Mopé, for instance. A bit troll at times, and I think as you said, you look in the fixtures: Leeds, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace. I mean, it's all about he could take a punt on one of them. I probably can't afford someone like from doing De Silva to Gross. I'm probably 0.1 out, I believe. Maybe I can look at March instead.
Yeah.
It's great what you've shared on this. It's really helpful. I really appreciate this, and it's really making me think about more, what I want to do and change minds.
They've got form, fixtures, and they've got a variety of cheap players. They're an FPL manager's dream, and I know exactly what I mean about the strikers, and that's what Brighton fans have as well. So back just before my day, we had a striker called Peter Ward who still chanted, and that was when Brighton went up to the top flight in the early 80s. And and over the years we've had, say, Bobby Zamora, we've had Glenn Murray, we've had absolutely prolific strikers. One of my favourites over the years was Craig Nogan, who was a fantastic player. There's so many different options, so many different strikers they've had over the years, but they haven't recently. They've never really replaced Glenn Murray. So we've had like the likes of Mopé, and we've got Undav at the moment, Dennis Undav, who might fill that role, might not. So I can see why people aren't doing that. But I think in Welbeck, we have a player that can get attacking returns for a cheap price. But it's a midfield, really. It's the midfield and defence. That's where you're going to get your FPL points, I think, from Brighton.
Rhys, any questions you want to ask about Brighton to Joe?
Tons. I mean, Brighton is such an interesting team at the moment because I'm being serious. There's no sarcasm there at all. There's an interesting team at the moment because, like Joe said, the fixtures are so good for Brighton, and they're such a good defence and have been for a few seasons now. So it's not really like an assumption for us to say they're a good defence anymore. They actually are.
Yes.
And not only that, they've not got midweek games, right? When all the big six have got midweek games, so they're kind of, in my estimation, the best team with the best fixtures outside of that group.
Yeah, they've got a good cup side as well. I mean, I just want to correct an error I've just said there. I think I said Kevin Nogan. I think I was thinking of Kevin Nolan in the back of my head. It's Kurt Nogan, was a Brighton legend, and one of your countrymen, Rhys, as well. So do apologise for Kurt Nogan and all of Wales there, and Brighton, of course.
No worries. We've never heard of him.
But no, he was good in Preston North End and Cardiff back in the day. Before you were born, probably.
Probably before my time, yeah.
But yeah, no, I know what you mean by Brighton. I think we were quite buoyed up. We've got loads of really talented players. We've got a really good squad. It would be great if we could get a backup to Welbeck, because I think Welbeck's cemented his place currently. It just fits with that system, and then I think we're there. Top 6. Now that's a bold prediction, but I would say top 10. I would not shrug my shoulders about. I would go, yep, that's good. Top 8, maybe. I mean, I think we're heading for one of our best. I mean, in the best shape I can remember. I mean, I used to go and see them when we had to, when the team sold their ground to Toys R Us, and we had to go and ground share with Gillingham, where anyone who knows their basic geography of Brighton and Gillingham, those are blooming miles away. And I remember going to see Richie Barker, who was our striker then, who went on to play for Rotherham, score his first goal after about 20 games with us. And it was a day of national celebration. And that's how poor we were. I can't remember who we were playing. Torquay or someone, probably. But anyway, that's Brighton mentality, you see. We're not like, oh, I can't believe we didn't beat. We're not like West Ham or Spurs, where they think, oh, we played a beautiful game, we should win every game, and we're entitled to be in the top flight. We're just thinking, oh my God, we almost got relegated at Hereford, and we've had to ground share at Gillingham and play an athletics track at Withdean in Brighton. So we've got Amex, we've got blooming World Cup players. It's amazing.
Yeah, Brighton, like I said, they were very hard to choose from. But I think if you want to take a punt like March and stuff, or Gross, I mean, lovely fixtures. And you could possibly, if you keep this up, anything could happen as long as you keep your head screwed on and everyone stays focused. You could finish top half for sure. Rhys, anything else? Any more questions before we sign off?
Yeah, I was going to ask Joe about expected minutes. So in the past, it's been quite tricky to pick Brighton attackers, right? For my team personally, I think if I was to pick a Brighton player, and I probably will in the next few weeks because of expected minutes and what we spoke about earlier, European teams, etc., I'd probably go for a defender. Now, I'm looking at Danny Welbeck, though, and I know from being a United fan, he can be an absolute genius at times.
Yeah.
He's played 3 games, 3 starts, 269 minutes. Okay, his non-penalty expected goal involvement isn't great, but he would be someone who I'd think about because of his price. But I'm interested about this guy you brought up earlier as well. Where would you think he'll play? And do you think he'll take one of those wing-back spots? Because at the moment, for FPL, those 2 players are classed as midfielders, right?
Sorry, Pervis Estupinan.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah, well, he has come from. I can't remember. I'm on the spot here. I can't remember where, but he basically they were in the Champions League semi-final, so he's good. So he's Cucurella's replacement. He's there.
So do you expect him to?
Yeah, he will play there. Yeah, that's
really.
Yeah. Trossard would not play left wing back anymore. I mean, well, he might do for a bit for the next game, while the new guys eased in. But that's his role there. Trossard will move forward. So Trossard will be either just behind Danny Welbeck, maybe even replace Danny Welbeck when he's injured. So yeah, that's what would happen. I'd be very surprised if Trossard is removed from the team. But this new guy is replacing where Trossard has been. Trossard's been sort of there. But what Brighton do is they get players in who can play a variety of positions. So I'm saying Pascal Gross is there on the right and stuff. He might be wing back one week. He might be defensive midfielder. He's all over the shop. And that's what they do with these players. They get in those types of players that can play anywhere. So McAllister as well, I feel, can play lots of variety of roles around the midfield. And I've mentioned Solly March as well. I think when I first came away with Solly March, I think he was playing as a striker or certainly as a winger, certainly in a very attacking role. So
that then, the question then becomes, who comes out with the team when this Purvis gentleman steps into the team?
Yes. Well, you have 3 midfield spots, one of which will go to Trossard. It won't be the ones at the back. So I would say logically it would be Lallana. However, Lallana's playing really well. We've got 5 subs. But what you're going to see, so there's going to be both joy and excitement seeing Brighton, and there's also going to be disappointment because you might not see your player on the team sheet, but they might come on at half time. They might come on after 60 minutes and get you some returns. But at the moment, I would say So you've got McAllister, Casado, and Lallana, and Trossard. One of them's got to go. My money would be on the older guy, Lallana.
Or potentially, maybe, what do you think about this? Gross moving to wing back and March going?
Yeah, that could happen. Yeah. I mean, see, second guessing. So I've done a dangerous thing here, putting this picture up. I've cut off my nose to spite my Brighton face here because Graham Potter, he might do something completely different. He might not have this formation at all. Could be four at the back, because he does change tactics within the games. He changes tactics before games depending on the opposition. You think he'll do that, but this is why anytime a Premier League manager at the top side goes, they say Graham Potter is linked, because he's really good, and he's one of those sort of, I guess, managers that hasn't managed a big side as such. So made his name in Scandinavia. I think he was also coach of the Ghanaian women's football side at one point as well. So it's not a kind of like a Frank Lampard, like going straight in at Derby and then Chelsea and then Everton. It wasn't that. He's a relatively new name, but that doesn't mean that he isn't perhaps one of the best managers that we have in the Premier League. Bold statement.
No, I really rate him, and obviously he's highly rated by people a lot more qualified than me as well, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping my enthusiasm's coming through.
I'll tell you something.
I'm really, and everything. I mean,
you've maybe changed my mind a lot, Joe, on bringing Aronson in. I'm looking at Brighton midfielders now.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with Leeds. Well, get yourself down at Brighton. Get yourself shopping up at Churchill Square and Western Road in Brighton. Don't bother with Leeds.
I'm having a good think about it now, but no, really interesting. Thank you for these. Really are helpful. Yeah, well, we're wrap things up now. No, I've enjoyed this. Joe, Rhys, thank you for an hour and 15 minutes of having you on, getting your thoughts, your teams. Absolutely amazing to have you on. Rhys, getting you on again. Been a hell of a long time. Hopefully get you on very, very soon again. And Joe, making your debut. Great to finally speak to you in person. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, hope everyone's enjoyed the stream. Leave it a like, subscribe. All my guests, Rhys and Joe's socials are in the description box. Follow them on Twitter, their YouTube, Fantasy Football Scouts, where Joe's from, and Rhys channel, FM Wonder Kids, and FPL Fantasy Football Weekly. But yeah, I've enjoyed this. Joe, Rhys, thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been really fun.
And all the best. And good luck, everybody, and good luck to you guys too for this game week. Take it easy, guys.